Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. And joining us now, Laura Bramnick from TalkRealEstateAZ.com. Laura is an attorney. She's also a real estate agent. She's also a consumer advocate. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Sinclair.
You work in residential, commercial, and land transactions.
Yes, I do.
And that combination of being an attorney and a real estate agent, in some circumstances, you may be able to provide legal advice as part of the transaction and negotiation at no additional charge.
That's correct.
Other times, you're working to help resolve an issue. Somebody comes to you, the transaction may have already taken place. They then come to you and search you out as an attorney to help them find a resolution.
Yes.
And no matter what, you work as a consumer advocate for your clients, I know that.
I try to all the time. I know what it's like to be, feeling that you are victimized by someone who's either done something wrong, made an error, tried to scam you. And you and I have talked about the fact that real estate is usually the largest purchase of your life.
Sure.
And so you just want to be protected if at all possible.
TalkRealEstateAZ.com is Laura's website, TalkRealEstateAZ.com. And a lot of the conversations that we've had over the years are posted on your website. People can refer to them.
Yes.
480-624-2705 if you have a question. 480-624-2705. And of course, Laura holds an active Arizona real estate license, licensed through the State Bar of Arizona, specializing in real estate. 480-624-2705. You just mentioned something to me that I was not aware of. It is an anti-flipping rule?
Yes, this applies to FHA loans. So typically what happens is, let's say I'm a first-time home buyer, and I find a house that I want to buy, and let's say it's been recently renovated. So maybe it's an older home, or maybe it's an up-and-coming neighborhood that was kind of in bad shape 10 or 15 years ago.
Right.
So what happens is, a lot of times, an investor will buy that home. It may have been abandoned, it may have been foreclosed, maybe the person that lived in it died and the family wanted to sell it quickly and cheaply. And then the investor goes in and does certain renovations or improvements, and then usually sells it again quickly for profit.
They flip it.
They flip it.
Yeah.
Well, FHA says that they feel that a lot of times the investor does just very minor cosmetic improvements and gets the house at a very, very inexpensive price and flips it for a lot of money. And FHA feels that that affects their insurance. It's a higher risk kind of a loan. And they don't know that what the investor sells it for is what the house is really worth, that kind of thing. Even though they do an appraisal on it, they just feel like that's a higher risk loan, and they feel that a lot of times the investor has not really renovated the property the way they should.
So they would not offer an FHA mortgage to the buyer of that home that is being flipped?
If it's being flipped within 90 days.
From what date to what date?
Okay, the dates are the date that the investor took title.
Okay.
And then it has to be over 90 days from the date the investor and the new buyer sign a contract. Not from the date the new buyer closes on the purchase.
Okay, that makes it a little bit more than that way.
Yes.
Okay, so essentially 90 days from close to signing a contract for sale.
Right.
That's still somebody who's flipping a property fairly quickly, even in that time frame. So yeah, I can see if they go in and they can do it in under 90 days, some people may just be doing some cosmetic fix-up.
Yeah, maybe they're putting in some appliances, steaming the carpets, painting, and out of there.
Yeah, right.
And so FHA felt for many years that this was kind of a scam. And so they prevented investors from flipping the property within 90 days if the buyer needed an FHA loan. Now, during our market crash, there were so many abandoned properties and so many properties that had been foreclosed that FHA waived that restriction
Mhm.
because they wanted investors to go in and fix up these properties and resell them quickly. Because FHA had insured a lot of these mortgages and were losing money.
So this anti-flipping rule is fairly recent then?
Well, the rule was in place, and then FHA in 2010 waived it.
Okay.
So they said, okay, you can flip the property within 90 days.
So some
Because we're
flippers
in
may not know that this rule is in place yet.
So it's now been that FHA has reinstated that restriction.
Mhm.
And so, yes, now it's true that there's less foreclosures, but there's still flippers out there.
Sure.
And there are still people, for a whole variety of reasons, that need to sell property quickly.
Mhm.
And so, if you're a buyer that needs an FHA loan, you want to make sure that you don't get way down into the process, and then FHA does their final underwriting, and they realize that it violates this anti-flipping rule.
So it's important to know this if you are a flipper investor.
Yes.
It's also important to know this even if you're just a first-time buyer going out looking for a place to buy. Is this a property that is being flipped, and if so, does it fall under this new anti-flipping rule?
Yeah, and because,
Or
you
the
know,
old anti-flipping rule that's revived?
FHA is still a very popular mortgage. One, first-time home buyers, people with low down payments, also people with less than perfect credit, especially people that have been through short sales or foreclosures and want to get back in the housing market.
Hmm.
So
That applies to a lot of people in the
it
valley.
really does apply to a lot of people. Now, FHA has other guidelines when they underwrite the loan. Let's say it's been sold after 100 days, not 90 days.
Mhm.
Well, if the investor's gonna make a high enough profit, the FHA can require a second appraisal and some other additional documentation to satisfy them that this house is worth what it's being sold for.
Okay.
Now, before there were restrictions on how lenders picked appraisers, this was a much bigger scam because appraisers and investors would be in cahoots with each other. And the investor would tell the appraiser what they needed, you know, and so there was a lot of kickbacks and things.
Yeah. But hopefully a lot of that has been cleaned up. And just the act of flipping, I know that there are some investors out there, and they go in and they try and do a good job of renovating a property
Yes,
that's been in some form of distress. And then they're entitled to a reasonable profit, certainly.
well, they're certainly entitled to the market value,
Sure.
you know, and especially if they bought a property that was pretty much destroyed.
But they need to know the rules.
Yes.
So this is important, even if you're an experienced investor and you're flipping properties, you need to know the rules. If you're a first-time buyer and you're out looking for a property, you need to know the rules. And if you don't know the rules, you need to know Laura Bramnick, because Laura knows the rules. And you can get in touch with Laura, 480-624-2705. She answers her own phone,
Yes, I do.
480-624-2705. And the website, talkrealestateaz.com, talkrealestateaz.com. And it's always good to have Laura on your side. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thanks, Sinclair.